Hello and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming to determine the best movie for any given year. This season, we are devoted to 1991, and we are doing the last of the eligible movies tonight.
Holy
and it is
shit.
Thelma and Louise. Know this before I introduce them. These two people are my best friends competing to be a number one best friend in a contest for points. I award points for funny jokes, good points, or just saying something that is in agreement with me. Let's introduce them now. No more waiting needed. Last week's champ, it's Mike.
Greg, you made some good points. Excellent intro.
Mm-hmm.
One thumb way up.
Wow, one thumb. Ryan, one
My
thumb.
other thumb was hurt. Shit.
No, I have two thumbs.
Okay.
Two thumbs up, Greg.
Up,
Two thumbs
there
up
we
for your
go.
intro.
Ryan. I like a little extra enthusiasm,
Yeah,
I think.
Mike is
I
talking
hurt
about
my
the
thumb phoning this week.
Mike is talking about the laziness of Siskel and Ebert. Movies could have gotten four thumbs up, and they only got two. I had the board. No, I had the secretary pool that we have here at Pop Filter run the numbers. Mike is unbeatable this season.
Yeah.
The only way that I have beat Mike is if trivia is involved,
Yeah.
and then I sweep up a lot of points. But other than that, I have been absolutely decimated this entire
Is this
season.
true?
So I changed it up tonight. I did not watch the movie.
Nice.
Like,
Why?
fuck it. Why?
Bold choice.
Let's just
Why do my feelings feel the opposite of what you just said?
let's just see if I can beat Mike with no previous information.
Now, this would be a movie. Thelma and Louise is almost not a movie you can watch without previous information, right? Like, I had not...
I knew
Go, Mike.
I knew one thing, and unfortunately, it was the still of
The
the very
very
last shot of the
last
movie.
shot.
That is
I mean,
all I
didn't
knew
you at
about
a
this
minimum
movie.
know two things? Like the names of the main characters, Mike.
There's a Thelma, there's a Louise. Who knows? Who knows if that was them?
Were you by the end of the movie were you like pretty sure that's Thelma, that's Louise?
Yes, dude.
I still couldn't tell you.
I stopped it at one point, and I went, Thelma, Louise. and then when I started it again, Louise was going, Thelma, come here. And I was like,
Yeah, nailed it.
it.
Greg nailed it. Louise nailed it. Everybody got it.
We all know who both these are. So I had never seen this as a kid. Mike, had you seen it as a kid?
I have not seen it till this very week.
Ryan, how about you?
I'd seen it before, yeah.
Okay, because we had a lot of history with Addams Family. We had a lot of history with Terminator 2. It wasn't like we went into... I had a lot of history with Silence of the Lambs. But it's not like we went into this movie with no knowledge, because it was very much in the zeitgeist at the time. But, like, this is the movie I've seen the least, except for last week's A Brighter Summer Day.
Which only 12 people in America have seen. So that makes sense.
And we're three of them.
We're three of them.
Congratulations, guys. So it doesn't have that, like, how did you used to think about it? How do you
Right.
think about it now? But overall, what are our impressions of this movie, Mike?
I can only imagine Mike as a young boy not watching it because he's just like, why didn't they drive the car from the end of Greece instead of the car from Thelma and
Oh,
Louise?
wow. That
Because that knows how to
That
fly.
would have saved their life.
you want to talk about a good
But-
one.
I should have watched it because two of the movies I watched as a young child were Grease, Ad Nauseum, and Rocky Horror Picture Show, Far Too Young, which means flying cars and Susan Sarandon, one of my first celebrity crushes. This was up Little Mike's alley.
Wait, that woman in that movie that you saw as a kid who was just running around in her underwear for 45 minutes of the movie, you had a crush on her?
You somehow developed a crush on her?
I somehow developed a crush on her and every other actor in that movie. But man, Susan Sarandon, I've had the hots for my entire life.
Okay, so besides your sexual attraction to her, did you
Sure.
like the movie that in
Clearly
which she
Mike picked up
appeared?
on the point of the movie.
Yeah, is your name Earl?
No, and I also very attracted to Geena Davis since A League of Their Own. This is my director. This is on my team. This is Ridley Scott. And
if
fuck.
he hadn't already been on your team, this would have been the week where you selected him, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
because that is I'm a hack.
Mike.
I didn't know he had this in him. This movie was so human and heartfelt and amazing. It rocked my socks
Have
off.
you seen The Last Duel?
No, I want to
Okay,
very much.
because I wouldn't have necessarily known he had it into except for The Last Duel. Kind of like, I don't know, it makes you think. Or I thought about that movie in conjunction with this one. Ryan,
Mhm.
you're the only one who has a history with the movie. Between that and this viewing of it, what is your feelings in general?
I mean, think about how much the country has changed since my last viewing of it as a kid. I think that this is a really good example for a lot of things, but one, it's important to put whatever you think that is corny about older movies aside and just dive in. And this movie's not flawless.
No.
We'll get to that later, but like this movie is of one piece of its own tone. It's a little 91-y, but it's still fucking perfect. This movie is. I thought that, I didn't know who was going to win 91, but I thought whatever it was, we had already watched it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
this movie, I cannot believe how fucking tight this movie is as a script. I cannot believe these two leads. Like, I mean, I don't mean to sound like an old man, but everybody complains like we don't get movies like this anymore, and they don't make them. Like this is this movie made 45 million or so in theaters, and for 91, that's kind of okay. This is a perfect example of all of the things coming together to not make a brighter summer day, right?
Yeah.
Not make some of the some of the indie shit or some of the foreign shit that we might watch in a season. But as far as like having a Hollywood studio in front of it, this is the best we could hope for and the best I would ever want. Like this movie's fucking a classic.
Yeah, the leads are amazing. You can't say one bad word about either of them in these roles. The stacked cast. Every time a new character showed up, I was like, really?
Yeah.
That's another thing I miss about old Hollywood movies. Just like, okay, we have to get 17 character actors and not like no names. Like I want everybody to be like that guy the entire time they're watching it.
And for some of them, it was, okay, that's why that guy was in things that I saw afterwards, right? Oh, that's why Shooter McGavin was probably in Happy Gilmore.
Young, svelte, 70s-looking Shooter McGavin.
I was thinking while watching this, did Shooter McGavin walk so Danny McBride could fly?
Dude, he is so Danny McBride in this. He does the head
There's a scene where he goes,
motions.
what?
Yeah.
What?
There are some incredible Danny McBride moments in this. Well, we are getting dangerously close to talking about this absolute gem of a movie. I want to say it is not 100% perfect throughout, but it's so good that there are several scenes that I think do not work at all, and I watched the movie again, challenging myself to figure out why I'm not getting them.
Yeah.
Like there is a part that, and we're going to talk about it, that really stands out, but I just think it's that I'm not getting it myself. I think that it might work, but maybe I'm the problem.
It's always nice to think about, am I dumb?
When we come back.
Every day.
Am I dumb? Ridley Scott's Thelma and Louise has a tough act to follow in last week's A Brighter Summer Day, and stylistically, the two movies couldn't be more different. But in many ways, Thelma and Louise tackles much of the same subject matter: male dominance of women, male violence against women, and an air of systemic disinterest, if not outright antagonism, to the plight of women in general. All while wrapping up in just over 2 hours. But I digregs. In this film, we see the title character set out on a road trip that immediately turns into a nightmare thanks to, you guessed it, dudes. Dudes, bros, dicks, derps, scrubs, and fuckboys fly at these two women like bugs through the night air. But, unlike those bugs which harmlessly splatter uponst their windshield, these dudes ruin everything and then come back to make sure they finished ruining everything and then force our main characters, played perfectly by Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis, off a literal freaking cliff. Gentlemen, and gentlemen only, I masculinely ask you this. Many critics have called Thelma and Louise feminist, while others have called it reverse feminism or even anti-feminism. As men, let's decide this here once and for all.
Okay, I actually looked this up because it was a buzz. It was all a buzz about how did Thelma and Louise set feminism back. And so I had to before we get into me and Mike's opinions, and Greg,
Sure.
shoot in there whenever you want, about whether this movie is a feminist movie or anti-feminist. I wanted to see where this was coming from. And guys, the answers, particularly number 7, are going to surprise you. This movie did not fix feminism.
Right.
Okay. That's a bummer. That's kind of a bummer.
It did not fix misogyny, rather. That there was
Okay.
still misogyny after this movie came out. I don't, because the movie failed.
Probably President Clinton.
The fact that there were
Mike.
males in the movie proves that it's anti-feminist. There's I want everyone, mostly dudes, to be super careful when you step up and talk shit on something like this.
Yeah.
And the thing that I don't understand is still to this day, I don't get how these people who come clap back at a movie like this, how they don't understand how much they are telling on themselves. How they don't understand how they are not showing their entire
Zero
fucking
self-awareness.
ass.
Their whole ass just flapping out in
Their
the
whole
sun.
ass.
It sounds like then that the group that calls this movie anti-feminist are themselves not
Is it dudes?
feminists. Yeah, is it just like do-bros?
There was a couple
The guys who ruined every single part of the experience of Thelma and Louise?
there's a couple of women who, writers who like, and really it reads like clout searching. Even in the world of like academic journals, I still want the clout, and the way to
Got to find clout somewhere.
yeah, you got to get clout where you can get it, and the way to get clout for me in an academic journal is just to say something stupid.
Or something that cuts against the grain,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that the way we kind of
Right.
train ourselves in the academy? I do like, not to get all like right wing on it, but doesn't the academy kind of train its students to find problems with classics?
Yeah,
But
in a way.
here's what I don't like about our generation, the ones youngers, and it's not thoughtful folks, right? It's just the general hand I'm pretending exists. I'm strawmanning a generation.
Nice. We love it here.
Also from the academics is something can have flaws and still be fucking amazing.
Yes.
Case in point, our two leads, not the actresses, the characters, and maybe this is why people say they're anti-feminist. These are flawed, shitty, real dimensional characters. They kind of suck. They're kind of garbage to each other, and that's awesome. And they're allowed to be heroes, and they're allowed to forgive each other, and allowed to not forgive each other, they're allowed to get over stuff. They are the best of friends, and they also hurt each other. Even though in a world where other people are hurting them all the time nonstop, they also can't wait for the other one is at their lowest and is like, and here's the thing I know will fucking hurt you right now.
Like Fred's
And
do.
it's amazing to watch.
And importantly too, are criminals. Like, I feel that
Yeah.
if this movie was made today, they would skirt around that little fact
Yeah.
and just make it all like circumstance or a Three's Company episode. These people are criminals, and they know it, and we know it, and the cops know it, and that's one of the more daring parts
I
about
like
this movie
Outlaws.
is Outlaws is good.
Outlaw, because that makes that's that fun American dream.
Yeah.
We're still gonna tell this story anyway about these two women, even though they are outlaws.
But so Young Guns, and not a good movie, not nearly in this, but like we love outlaws here. That is a huge part of
We
the
love
American
male
mythos, right? But I love the Calamity Janes, and these are modern that, and I think to watch them, it is what Joker's always trying to do. Batman is it just takes one bad day, and we get to watch that happen to Thelma and Louise. They both have a bad day and a string of bad days, and they can't take it anymore until they say, well, fuck all your laws, and then they can't take it anymore. They're like, we would rather die happy together than have to deal with one more shitty dude.
Yeah, I mean, and then they go from like avoiding them to calling them out throughout the course of this movie. And like the whole feminism, do you guys remember, or have you guys ever heard what the original Bechdel test movie was in the comic that came up with the Bechdel test?
No.
It was Alien. Do you know who Alien is directed by?
Ridley Scott?
Ridley Scott.
It's Ridley Scott, and I think
Because
that's
she talks to the alien.
about
But not about
males.
dudes.
Yeah, they just talk
Give her
about.
back, you
Where'd you get your
bitch.
hair done?
But I think that's such an important thing too, is that we have males in this movie, and I don't think that ruins the feminism. I
You
think
got
that
males.
storytelling. I think that
Yeah.
one crazy thing to think about is I think besides the waitress that sort of talks to Harvey Keitel at the first bar where they meet Harlan,
Who's also amazing. I love her.
do we have any other women?
There's people who get like a line.
But like
Yeah.
they're I think very purposefully they're in a world of men
Yes.
that is trying to control them, and they don't go to women for help. They don't, like it's just these are all of the men. I think the bugs on the windshield thing
These
is
are-
like a perfect
Yeah.
analogy.
Yeah. These are not people who go to other people for help, and that's a way in which they are like American outlaw types, which we're going to talk about in the back half of the show. But isn't the movie, the purpose, I guess, is kind of focusing a little bit on men, but the point isn't kind of the point all the different ways men of a whole bunch of different types, how they all
Daryl is
contribute?
shittier than Jimmy, is shittier than JD,
There should be
is
a-
shittier than Stephen Tobolowsky. They're all shitty in their own unique way.
There should be a poster that's like the evolution line of just all
Yes.
the male characters that you meet throughout.
And it was so clear that I got also like just every director got too in love with Brad Pitt because this movie has taught me to not trust men. They're all gonna suck.
Yep.
And when he fucked them over, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Not our sweet baby boy JD.
And I mean, honestly, I think the most like noble man is Harvey Keitel's character.
Yes.
And he's actively trying to pursue them, is like what brings the force of people to chase them off the cliff. And then at the end, the last thing he does is he realizes, oh shit. And see, this is us. This is the part why, like, if we're in this movie, we're him. Right? Like these three dudes. We are with the boys. We show up with the boys, and all we want is to not be associated with them, but to run from them and to run after the women as they go and pursue like full freedom. And that's why I think ultimately I find him an offensive character, because it's like, you messed this
nice
whole
guy.
thing up.
Yeah.
You're the worst
But
of all
he's
of them.
he's so concerned about them. He's like, we need to get to them so
It's
more
so
bad things
fucking
don't happen. I want to
paternalistic,
protect
though.
them.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is, even though he's the sweetest of all the guys, he still also breaks and enters every chance he gets.
But
There's
he,
also an
like-
amazing Harvey Keitel moment too. I've never seen this part of the movie before, but he is supposed to be the guy we aspire to be. You know, if
Yeah.
you're not a piece of shit, but even though he's like our strong male center of this movie, they're going over to Shooter McGavin's house, and it's pouring rain, and they're touching butt. They're playing grab ass, trying to get to the door first, and like pinching each other, and like
they're such boys.
you are
aren't they?
children. You're on
Yeah.
a job trying to protect either or both these ladies from dying or their victims from dying, and you can't not just be like, it's raining out.
and it's water.
Did you notice that like the chief of Arkansas police, he's got like a bunch of little toys on his desk? I mean, it's like part of the this movie is like you never grow up. Like these men
Right.
never grow up. They never become responsible, and they never actually turn into this thing. Men, like they never become that.
and there's no need to. There's like they have
Yeah, because
they and not us have worked the system in such a way where like, well, if you tell me to, I'm gonna yell at you. Or like Jimmy is the
Right.
closest to Harvey Keitel, right? Of like
yeah,
being a
'cause
good guy.
He
he's
arcs,
still
right? He learned something,
but he still has
And
he
he's
still
another
has
one where-
his table throwing scene.
and
Right,
he's
'cause we
played
hear
by
he's a
Michael
piece of
Madsen.
shit. Yeah, so he shows up and you're like, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But then like it's so funny because we hear he's a piece of shit. But then there's also, there's things with Louise and you're like, I don't know, maybe he's a good guy. And then that table throwing scene, I was like, I have no, it's like, oh, so Jimmy sucks too? Great. Just great. The one guy I thought I could like.
Is Michael Madsen if Paul Rudd did age?
Right.
So, but in the world of this movie, or maybe in the world in general, is there any way this story ends where these women are not driving off a cliff?
There's not.
No, I think there's no happy ending, man.
Be-
Like, because what? They're going to live in Mexico and be fun? No, there's dudes down in Mexico as well.
Yeah, there's just as many as here, and like
Mike.
I think that Callie Corey, the screenwriter, in a cool way, like I'm not saying she fucked up, but she sort of wrote herself into a corner where if they get out of this, it's because of men. Like all of the system is ran by men, and they can only be
Right.
saved by the system at this point. So that's more men. And for Geena Davis to look at Susan Sarandon and say, "Just keep going, let's just go forever," that's the perfect. If you have a complaint about this ending. But
You know who
like
does?
you accept Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids ending, like
okay,
fuck
okay.
you.
And again, we're going to talk about this in another segment, but it's your boy Ebert who has the major problem with this ending, right? He's the one that says like it is a dereliction of duty to have that the car go off the cliff and then go to white so quickly. He said,
And
I
not
would've-
show like a fiery bodies
What,
in a
he
car.
wants to see burning flesh?
think
What's
he
his
felt-
sick pervert problem?
I think he felt like it was. I think he felt like it was super abrupt. But you know what? Actually, we are going to be talking about how this movie is directed, and that's the exact thing I want to talk about in our next segment. But before that, we're going to go meet the Rushmore babies.
Mount Rushmore.
They all met when America was still very young. They love to hang out and have fun. They're the Rushmore babies. That's right, Rushmore babies, of course, the segment that we do every week. We talk about the important babies of 1991.
Rushmore Babies is filmed up front of a live studio.
Of babies. The
They don't
babies
give a
are so
shit.
upset.
Is baby crying like people vomiting? Like once one does it, now the whole crowd is just gonna
Oh,
start.
yeah. Oh,
if
yeah.
you cry, then I'm gonna cry.
I think when a baby ever sees another baby getting a lot of attention, baby number one is like, I want attention.
My name is baby number one.
Yeah, dude, I'm number one baby.
Look at the call sheet. Thank you.
I'm going to be in my baby trailer. It's adorable. Throwing a little baby tantrum. Also adorable. So who were the babies of 1991? And let's start with Ryan. So Mike pointed out they're 30 now.
It's still like babies to be.
But they're still going to be wearing their little diapies. And
Okay.
they're going to have their little bows.
So this is heads and diapers on this mountain, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Diapers on heads.
The first one, I'm going to put all three of our heads together. I'm going to speak for all three of us.
I love it. Please do.
And I'm not going to say Mike Gravano, if that's what you think I'm going to say.
I was not born in 1991.
I'm
Jeffrey
fat,
Bezos.
so I burp and fart.
That's me as a baby.
Very smart, but very fat baby. Like if we all put our fists in and our rings light up, it's the Keith Stanfield.
Oh.
shit. That is a great one and not what I thought.
How excited are we that Atlanta comes back in like a week?
Yeah, it's here,
shit.
guys.
The warrior poet Lakeith Stanfield.
It's here to absolutely ruin the brackets at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to win
fun to have
TV
it.
comedy and TV drama.
I haven't
And
even
TV
seen
music.
Donald Glover in like 2 years. I miss him so much. It's like a friend.
I saw a tweet from him the other day that said Atlanta's back in 2 weeks. It's like, okay,
I love it, man.
sweet. But no, I mean, how many times have we talked about this person as just a crazy talent where he can play his character on Atlanta and then play his character in the Black Panther movie that has a long, not the Ryan Coogler Black Panther movie.
I was just like, I don't think he was in that, man. This is a different guy from Get Out.
He was in Sorry to Bother You.
And
Sorry to bother you.
I mean, a little bit in Knives Out and just always bringing that Lakeith Stanfield, although also he has that same sort of like, I have star charm, right? So I'm going to bring my persona, but also I can at the same time bury myself in a character.
Yeah.
It's
he also
very
He
rare.
can steal a scene. Like
He always seems totally stoned and totally aware of what's going on.
yes,
Which is always
that's a superhero.
interesting combination. And I know you guys probably don't give one fuck, but he did voice acting for a really cool anime on Netflix that I watched, and it was so dope. I think it was called Black Samurai. Anyway, Lakeith Stanfield on our mountain, but our version is just a little baby version.
Does he still have his facial hair?
He does. He has a
Of
little,
course.
little baby beard. Mike, who do you got?
This is what I thought Ryan was building up to. If you put the three of our rings together, 1991 baby, but of music, he's a little baby Goblin. He's a little baby Igor. He's a little baby Tyler, the Creator.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Recent winner of Best Album
Yeah.
of 2021.
Booty 2021 winner. I
See,
mean, he
I
seems
get-
like one of our people.
You guys give me crap for just putting the first ones on the map, but these are good ones. I mean, I can't deny that. Tyler, the Creator.
Don't worry, I have some shitty ones next.
Tyler, comma.
Yeah. Get that comma in there.
Yeah, dude.
And make sure there's a little baby comma up there.
And a little baby, a little diaper, a little comma diaper. Yeah,
Tyler,
just so
the
exciting.
Creator.
This Call Me If You Get Lost, the only album from 2021 that I have listened to since we did our 2021 shows.
Oh, so many of those you need a break.
It's really hard.
Afterwards.
Man, it's really hard. Even though we get on the mic and we talk about how much we love them, the day after that, if I try to listen to those albums, it's just gone.
We put all the albums on a table and throw it on the ground like we're goddamn Jimmy.
Yeah, you're dead to us now. Get out of here, sleigh bells. Kick your ass. Okay, Ryan, we got two up there. Who you got for me? Who are the 91 babies?
Sophia That's probably the wrong list. Oh, okay. So the next
A lot of
one,
lists.
if we were doing this, like if we were doing 91 maybe a year ago, we would have no idea who this person is. And yet, I think she has the chance to become the most famous person ever born in 1991. And that is Ariana DeBose. She is about to win an Oscar as of this recording for playing Rita Moreno's part in West Side Story. Absolutely stole the movie. After this
She wants
Oscar,
to be in America.
after this Oscar win, I think that the sky is the limit. Whoever is scouting for, with the exception of Ansel Elgort, of course, a Harry Potter character, whoever is scouting actors for Spielberg for West Side Story did an absolutely incredible job, and Ariana DeBose stole an incredible movie.
Ariana And she's not Maria, because I remember on one show you
Anita.
mentioned her.
She's
yeah,
Anita.
she's the
No, Anita, no.
I put her on the maybe pile, but I think that's a good speculative one. I'm gonna put a little asterisk next to it.
You put an asterisk on both sides.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, Mike. I feel like a little bit of an opening here, maybe. Because there's
So I shouldn't go to my shitty part of my list?
Go to the shitty part.
I wouldn't, man. You get actual points here.
Okay. I want to go back to the World of Atlanta then. That's when I first met her, and she crushes it then there. She was great in Deadpool 2 as Domino, and she even was the most watchable part of the awful Joker movie. Zazie Beetz needs to keep working and get bigger and bigger and bigger. She is phenomenal.
You spend that entire Joker movie being like, okay, but seriously, what is she doing hanging out with this guy? Like, what's going on? And yeah, the only good part of the movie is when you find out that they don't have any association with each other. And you're like,
she's
okay,
like, why are you in my
it.
house? Oh, this makes sense.
I got it. Yeah, she is amazing. I like her so much. I am going to put her on the maybe pile. I liked her Domino, and I love her in Atlanta. Although she, unfortunately, I hope this is going to change this next season. She always is like the no fun character on Atlanta.
Yeah, but no fun. But the episode where
NFC.
they go to her home. I don't know if it's her hometown, but the weird like Swedish German beer hall shit.
Yes.
dude.
And then she is not the no fun character.
No.
And
Do you guys know why we're
She's
so excited
great
for
in it.
Atlanta and Better Call Saul and all these shows? Is that like we have no idea what to expect. They will throw the
That's so
craziest
true.
episodes at us, and we will have no idea.
That's so true. All right, let's start getting some more of these picks in. Ryan, what do you think?
I'm gonna go keep on the musical bandwagon. Bandwagon musical. Vincente Minnelli directed that, but I'm gonna go with Anthony Ramos, who I thought was. Let me say this: over heralded for Hamilton.
Yes.
I was surprised that he got. I don't know.
He's like the kid
he
and
was
the friend.
he was the son.
yeah.
he just didn't do that much. Yeah, he didn't have that much. He was fine.
And also, like, man, I don't want to hear you rap as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, get that out of here. Honestly, like, I never liked any part of
Although
that.
we are doing Rushmore Babies, and for a baby,
Oh,
he
they're
was,
the Rushmore
Yeah.
babies.
and he can Rushmore baby counting French.
but In the Heights, again a stellar
So
cast,
charming.
and yeah, I think that he also was an incredible lead for that. You know, I don't think that he is traditionally handsome,
No, he's a legit cutie. What are you
but
talking about?
when you talk to girls about
Yeah.
him, they're like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot."
Nah, dude,
Girls
come on.
love the curly hair, guys.
What can I say? It's a good
Like
look.
Greg cleans up.
It's a fine look. Mike, what do you got?
Okay, one of her least favorite parts of one of my favorite shows, but gosh darn it, was she not a pillar piece? Emily Rickards, who played Felicity Smoke for all 8 seasons of Arrow.
I can. I'll do that one.
Oh, no, wait. I remember her. This was sort
The
of
tech girl.
a curvy actress.
Yes.
I'm going to just write Arrow Lady because I know you never liked her, but I didn't really watch that show. And
I liked her in the first season.
she's very pretty. Okay, Ryan, we're going to we could maybe start going
going,
quick here because we're getting down to Arrow cast members.
No.
I have an actress who was on Arrow and the OC.
No,
playing
she really?
Caitlin Cooper.
Shit.
It's Willa Holland.
Willa
Let's see on
Holland.
this list.
Willa Holland. She's not on that cover now.
Okay.
I
just-
just Greg's about to pick up a DVD
In-
with the OC.
In the first season of the OC, Caitlin Cooper was played by Mike, famously,
Shailene Woodley, my next get.
who was born
For
in
this mountain.
1991. But I went with a different Caitlin Cooper. I went with Willa Holland
We all have our
because
Caitlin Cooper.
of the Arrow connection. Because I understand the host and how this segment works.
This is the wrong show for us. If I could double tap, I'll do another one.
You could do one more. This is getting silly.
I got one
season.
more.
Okay, Riley
You each
Reid.
can do one more.
Maybe we're not as into her as we used to be, but she won a lot of our hearts for a long time.
Who was it? Who'd you say?
Riley Reid
Is that a porn
from
star?
adult film fame.
Really, the porn star Riley Reid?
That is who I'm talking about.
She's good at what she does.
Yeah.
Ryan,
Who has starred on Sunday Night TV for the last decade? His name is Michael Trout, and he was born in 1991.
Are you kidding me?
I saw that and I was like, I don't really know anything about him. Why would I put this on? I fucking should have. Damn it.
Your pop filter babies of 1991 are Lakeith Stanfield, Tyler the Creator, Riley Reid and Mike Trout.
Okay, right at the end there, Mike and I went straight for Greg's heart, and we won.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Trout's like maybe one of the best ever.
He loves Mike Trout.
And Riley Reid's got to be up there.
For his heart and for his nuts.
When we come back to talking about this important movie about feminism. Well, that is very, very funny. Or very sad. And perhaps now you have something to think about. Or very problematic, and perhaps we have something to think about. But in any event, I'm sure you have some reaction to what you're listening to. So why not check us out on the social media? You can go to Instagram or Twitter and find us at YourPopFilter. Email contacts@YourPopFilter. Hey, everybody. Keep watching them movies. What is specifically Ridley Scott about this movie? Could another director have turned in this same film?
Let's start with the fact that nobody wanted to make this movie because it was about women. And he was like, yeah, I think that he wanted to be a producer. And they were like, okay, cool. Produce this motherfucker. And then like they would grab their nuts while they said that. But
Boys.
then he was like, if I direct it, he probably wanted a female director. And the only way to get it made was, if you put your name on it.
Well, same thing where, like, with Alien, Ripley was supposed to be a dude, and he fought against that.
Believe it or not.
Because he's like, I think Sigourney Weaver will crush. I think he has been, like, not loud. He's just very quietly, his whole career, been like, hey, women are really good at what they do, and their stories are interesting, too, Hollywood.
And it doesn't feel like virtue signaling. It doesn't feel like on his agenda. It just feels like, this factual thing is factual.
But when you start looking at the body of his work, it all does start to push in kind of one direction. Like, and again, it brings me back to The Last Duel.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
For sure.
The movie's 30 years apart in time. These years are each one Riley Reid apart. But they are basically about so much the same ideas about how men don't, like, because I think a main element of both is that men don't have access to the real world because their privilege blinds them to such a degree that they can't actually see
it's like
what's going on.
Women are in the real world and men are in this like half-ass real world, half-ass matrix.
Yeah.
And we just plug in.
And
that's called road rules.
Everything is supposed to keep the boys calm. That's the thing. Because if they get a little agitated, they instantly fly off the handle. Even the really good ones will pick up a table and throw it across the room, and then you have to like soothe him. And
best case scenario, he's thrown a table across the room.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have to that is just part of the narrative then. Right? And so I think he sees that. But are we missing the point if we talk about Ridley Scott? Because he didn't want to direct this movie. Is this even his movie, or is it the movie of screenwriter Callie Corey?
I think it's definitely hers, but like the Ridley Scott is in it is he doesn't look down upon action. Like he's somebody who he's up there when people talk about great directors, but he is like Jimmy Cams and Steven Spielberg. He's also somebody who's like Blockbuster is awesome and Blockbuster is art.
It's
part of this Blockbuster video
is that it's a movie.
Yeah, and like so when the helicopter comes up
big.
And they're blowing up the gas truck, like he's also like, I'm still Ridley Scott, baby. Like,
but like what we're talking about is how he made people learn the wrong lessons, like maybe Michael Bay and Mick G, if I could throw out those three letters. People of that, Bryan Singer, maybe learned the wrong lessons from Ridley Scott and Steven Spielberg. No, just make things explode. While they were like, the explosion is secondary, though. Like, what if you had like, as Mike said, real dimensional, which goes past 3-dimensional, real dimensional characters, and
real dimensional chess now.
And we're trying to actually say something. Then you can throw some explosions in there, and now we've got a perfect movie.
Yes.
And also, the scene specifically that has that explosion, that's the scene that I find is the hardest for me to wrap my mind around.
It's the goofiest.
There's 10 minutes of this movie, and I can't say the last 15 minutes because the last 5 minutes are really, really well shot.
It snaps back. It snaps back to reality.
Filming that car in like essentially Monument Valley. And we won't talk about what kind of movie takes place in Monument Valley yet.
We won't do it this time,
I'm not going to. We'll probably.
I'm erasing the name of the valley from my mind.
But the movie snaps back in such a way where like we get some crazy, great, very effective car shots of them by themselves and then by that not. But
some so technically brilliant that like are really just kind of like breathtaking in their execution.
Especially when you think about there's no CGI
That's
back
the
then.
thing. Yes.
Oh, I love practical effects.
The shot around the Thunderbird as it goes down the road is so sharp and crisp, and it's done perfectly at the perfect time.
There's one
And nothing looks stupid.
towards the very
No.
end where like the girls in their car
Yes.
are on the right side of the screen, and then there's a cliff. And then I'm like, what is that, a bird? Oh, my God, that's a helicopter.
It's
And-
flying below the car, Ryan.
Yeah.
and, like, that is... I know that Susan and Geena weren't there for that, but still,
They were
the
probably
amount
on the side watching,
the
drinking
amount
some
of like
coffees.
technical like drawing out to get that one perfect
Yes.
shot
Yes.
is... But
And
before...
then the helicopter comes right over the camera, and it hits like the perfect, the helicopter's in the perfect spot.
Before we get to that last 5 minutes, we have the 10 minutes before that. And what we have in that 10 minutes before that is the iconic, I do think, gas truck blowing up. And it's iconic because not just the explosion, but because of how great Thelma and Louise look sitting on their car. Like, that's the thing is that, like, they fully arc now. They don't give a fuck. They are pointing their guns at that truck.
They're
But
both like, the movie's done for us, baby. Like,
and then right after that, it becomes the Blues Sisters for 10 minutes. And it's just cop cars careening everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the part that feels really out of tone.
The whole
it
Go,
feels
Mike.
like leading up. There's so much arcage, and we're watching these people grow, and we're watching these fully.
I love when you talk
developed-
like Pauly Shore.
I
Get some
did.
arcage.
Arcage, buddy. But and he's like, well, the producers are going to need some Hollywood. Like, this is a save the cat. Like, page 89 does need some big explosion. So he just, his Ridley Scott giant middle finger in the air.
Oh,
and he
you
wanna
want it,
give you a
bitch?
fucking explosion.
I wish directors could put in the corner like producers' notes throughout. Like, it just says that in the top right hand corner when there's a scene like that.
There is the part of the movie we're talking about starts with a very interesting shot of the car. So they're in Monument Valley, but it's so clear that the actresses are sitting in the car while the car is like on the back of a flatbed on a truck.
Oh yeah,
And the car, and it's just swaying back and forth, and they are driving through kind of the same patch of Monument Valley over and over again. It's like the viewer is very
They're
much
on a
aware that they're just going past the same things over and over again. And I'm not saying that this is a dream. I'm not saying that it's not in the reality of the movie, but the movie embraces dream logic. And part of what happens is they get Earl, this manifestation of like all the worst of male id, all like sort of put together, and he becomes an almost uncharacter.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like as men decrescendo into
Yeah.
absolute cavemen, they devolve. They crescendo into or evolve into absolute fucking action heroes.
And
And
then-
that's the thing.
Yeah, they're saying lines, and they're both kind of looking at each other like, that's not something. But I wonder if it's saying like in Buddhism, like when you hit that nirvana, when you truly have no attachments to real life anymore, you will become the full you, and that's them being like, nothing matters anymore. So of course everybody around us seems like a cartoon,
They should have gotten out of their car and just not hit the ground. Just floated a little bit towards the end of the movie.
like Grease.
And this, I'd say, is the part of the movie that I kind of struggled with. And it's just in an awkward place in the movie because both the main characters have sort of like completely, as Mike said, become themselves. And then they enter into just this weird cartoonish moment in the movie, culminating in that truck exploding, which is like, I don't know if you remember the end of American Psycho, but the way he knows that he's like hallucinating is he shoots at a cop car and it just blows up.
Yes.
Like just shooting at a tanker truck and then it blows up that's movie logic. That's dream logic. That's not reality.
I definitely share your feelings, Greg. And like this 10 minutes of the movie does stick out. But so many movies that are about boys start with this shooting the gas truck and then go from there. And for this movie to like they start as nobodies, as just blue collar workaday women, and then get to this point. And so even though it sticks out, the fact that it doesn't stick out anywhere near as much as it should,
Right.
that's what's impressive. It's not that it's not dumb, because it is, but it should have been way dumber.
It should have been dumber.
Yeah.
Do any part of you guys wish that this was Thelma and Louise First Blood, and then they went on to become big,
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
they just
For
followed
sure,
the
dude.
Rambo scenario, so we get like stupid, big, even dumber action movies with the two of them after
And
this.
I felt like, and they might do this if the movie were made today, but I felt like it should project more into that dream space. Like, have it be at some point someone says, the movie, their story really ends at this part, and everything after that is a big dream sequence. Keep going. make it so
Yes.
they can keep going. Like have them picked up by an alien before the car hits the ground, or like have them land on a big bird that flies them away to Mexico. Like just keep going and push it until what you have left is not reality grinding them down, but unreality unspooling because it no longer is connected to anything. Like let them go into that mythopoetic space that they like ultimately are jumping into.
But I think they did. I think that like the way that it
That's
ends.
what happens.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's what we got. There's
When
two-
it's when Thelma becomes Louise and Louise becomes
yes,
Thelma.
when they
Yeah.
cross
is
over.
is the switch.
There's,
Like
you're supposed to in movies like this, and I do want to point out that like, do you know how fucking hard it is to have like a screenplay with two characters and then have two actresses have basically the same lives, right? Like blue collar, Arkansas, wives or girlfriends or whatever, and be this like distinct as characters go and performances go. I think is so impressive, but. In a movie like this, in an odd couple movie, you're supposed to just come together. You're supposed to realize that we were supposed to be in the middle the entire time. But for this movie to like take like a Bergman persona-esque thing and have them completely switch sides, where Thelma's like, "Hey, Louise, shoot the fucking radio." I'm the Louise
that is the
now.
fucking moment.
I have to
Louise
say,
now.
though,
look. I'm
watching
Louise now.
watching the movie a second time, I thought they switched as well, but I'll tell you what happened at the end is Thelma becomes Thelma. That's really what happens because she brings a fucking gun on the trip. She packs
Chekhov's gun, baby.
They say later she packs like she was never coming back.
Yes.
When she says she wants to pull off the road, she knows she's going to get hammered. She knows she's going to try to pick up a guy. She doesn't know that men are so awful that that's not going to be able to work
she's known
out.
one man her whole life.
Yeah, but like she is doing everything she intended to do on this trip. I don't think she ever thought I'm coming back to this life. One way
she
or
even
another.
brought her fishing pool net.
Yeah.
Or her like swimming pool cleanup net.
And her lantern, and Louise
The
was
lantern.
like, we're not going to need the lantern. And she was like,
Mike.
I'm going to bring the lantern.
Yeah,
There's
you got to bring the lantern. You got to bring the flashlight, right? These are great images for movies.
91 was all about tiny little things,
You're gonna
handheld
bring the
things.
light with
yeah.
you.
There's two things that I want to point out that are perfect combinations of Ridley and Callie. The first one is there is a moment in this movie that should be along like the iconic one-liners of like I'll have what she's having, and that is when Louise tells Thelma when you think that when Daryl acts weird, hang up the phone. And she calls her house, and Daryl answers, and he's like, Thelma, baby. And she
Hello.
hangs up immediately.
Immediately. He knows.
He knows. That was probably in the script. That was Ridley as well. Like, that is a fucking perfect moment. The other one that absolutely destroyed me was, and this is the kind of thing that's in the script but needs a director, is Harvey Keitel and Louise are on the phone at the end of the movie, and he brings up, he's finally the one to bring up, I know what happened in Texas. And she hangs up the phone and she looks at her reflection in the phone booth, but the reflection in the phone booth is behind us. So in order to look at it, she has to look directly at us. Like we all finally know what happened to her, and she makes essentially direct eye contact with the audience, and he holds it for so long, and I had heard that like people didn't know that Louise was raped. But when they watched this movie in 91, they were like, "Oh my god, that totally went above my head."
Even Thelma, who's a little naive, knows.
Yeah.
But when it all finally, and like I praise the movie so much for not having flashbacks, for not going into detail.
Yeah.
You know, just having it be Louise's thing and she's in control of it. She was not in control of that moment, but she's in control of how the story is told. And then when Harvey Keitel finds out and they talk about it, and she hangs up that phone, and then she finally looks and it's at us. And that's the kind of thing that can be in the script, but that's also Ridley, baby.
Also, that's the moment where he gets her. Like she stays on the phone too long, because he drops that, and so that thing that has been chasing her and that she's been trying to avoid is the thing that ultimately does get her in the end, and it's the nicest guy in Niceville that uses it on her,
and that's why they had to go off into the sunset. Literally, is because we watched it happen to Geena Davis. It did happen to Susan Sarandon or Thelma, and then it had happened to Louise. Louise has not escaped it. Thelma will not either. This is the only way out, is holding hands, driving off the fucking cliff, because at least that's their decision.
Yes.
And that's why the gas tank is so goofy, is because that happens real close
Yes,
after this
yes.
scene because it is
if
like
it had been more towards the middle of the movie, but it's
Mhm.
like the scene is dropped into the emotional arc because the stuff that comes right before that scene and the stuff that comes right after it is so impactful, and that's the part that makes it just like a little hard to totally wrap my mind around.
I think it's a heat check.
Yeah, and
with
it
the
looks
gases?
like a 40-foot jumper.
yeah, you could
when
see the
guys-
waves.
Yeah, like you're 8 for 8 in the second quarter, and you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna shoot from the logo. Like I can do this.
Well, I got vibes of, in Hamilton when there's 3 songs about our child's son just died and we don't know what to do with it, and then somebody goes in a very fucking Looney Tunes voice, can we get back to politics now? Please. It felt like that, like, this is too serious. I don't want to do it. I want to be in a movie.
This is too serious. You know what we need to do, gentlemen? We need to recast the podcast when we come back.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening so far. And let me just tell you that everything ahead of this commercial is much better than what came before it. That's my guarantee. While I have you here, let me tell you about a website. It's called yourpopfilter.com. And it's everything you need that's related to Pop Filter. Everything Mike, everything Ryan, everything Greg, everything Cassie, everything is there at yourpopfilter.com. While you're there, go to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. Make that your new Amazon bookmark and do your shopping from there. That way, we get a little piece of the action and Amazon doesn't. Make sure you're also listening to everything that Pop Filter has to offer, which includes the Superhero Show, a podcast that covers every single TV show that's based on a comic book or comic book property, and Movie of the Year, where we sit down and try and figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That's Superhero Show, that's Movie of the Year, and that's yourpopfilter.com. Rate, subscribe, review. Bye!
I tire of this podcast, and I tire of its members. Let's recast the podcast with completely new people. You have each brought me new potential people to recast the podcast, and these are like the stars of 91. Right?
91 is fuck.
Our analogs, I guess. Like, who was us in 91? And you will now tell me those right now. Let's start with Ryan. Let's recast Ryan first. Ryan, who do you think should play you?
I look at me, and I see somebody who is an odd color, just bright pink,
Okay, I see
and
that.
not happy about the situation, not happy that Greg's the host, not happy that Mike is a panelist, not happy that neither one of them is not the mama. I'm recasting me as the baby dinosaur from the show Dinosaurs.
Okay, point of order. Is this the baby dinosaur from the show Dinosaurs, or is it William Barr, ex-attorney general, who looks exactly like the dinosaur?
Greg, excellent
Not
question.
the Barbar.
It's actually the puppet dinosaur from the show Dinosaurs. Or
Baby.
But
real
he
dinosaur.
he does have a law degree.
Did that show Dinosaurs figure out Jurassic Park technology in order to shoot the show?
Yes.
That's crazy.
I actually heard that Earl, the dad, his voice was a mix of an elephant and a lion and a whale blended together. That's how they got that voice so well.
But we had Earl, the truck driver from Thelma and Louise,
Yeah.
and we had the Dixie Chick song, Earl Had to Die. Like, if you're named Earl, fucking go
Fuck
fuck
you.
yourself. Yeah.
That's what
hey,
my name is Earl. That's why it killed Jason Lee's career.
Come check out my baby, Earl.
Do you hate your baby already?
All right, so Mike, Ryan thinks he should be the baby dinosaur from the show Dinosaurs. Who do you think he should be?
I have a different take on Ryan. I think it's I think he can charm the pants of anybody. And you're like, I just want to talk to this guy more and more. He says stuff I don't
wanna wear
understand
my
all the
pants.
time. But and man, does he look good in a Canadian tuxedo, and he's always where you don't expect him, but then he's going to run away with it all. I'm going to say JD from Thelma and Louise.
What?
Wow.
This is a weird.
I would let Ryan take my wedding ring off any day.
Do you think he did that because he stole it? Like, do you think he also stole her wedding
That's
ring?
part of he's like, well, also like
That
if
should have
you're
been
go-
the first red light, right? Or
as a
like,
former fuckboy, this is how you're like, well, this is we'll make. I don't want her to look down as we're making out and remember.
Oh, yeah.
so I'm gonna remove this right now. And yes, he definitely pawned that the next day.
do you remember though? Even though it was $6,700, that's a lot of money to be stolen. But do you remember Geena Davis's hair the morning after? Like, it might have been
Hell
worth
yeah.
it.
Well,
That
that was a
night-
great montage.
I mean, okay.
Yes.
If you look at the entire like her entire life, that character's whole entire life,
Mm-hmm.
even though that goes really south because he robs them. Like, I don't know that you'd want to take that night away from her.
It's the
That's
first time
only
she's been
sexual
fucked,
joy.
man.
Yeah, it's like she came. Like, she's got that. Like, did you know that
Having
you could do that?
not knowing that orgasms existed.
Mhm.
Like, it's like someone being like, "Oh, you didn't know you could just like jump 18 feet in the air." All right, so I'm gonna mull these two choices, but as I do so, I'm gonna move on. Ryan, who do we think should replace Mike?
Mike, to me, is a pretty boy. I'm going to make this more complimentary based on calling me
Yeah.
Brad Pitt. Very handsome. Girls love him. Despite that, he's super fucking annoying, and his hairdo sucks. He's Edward Furlong.
Eddie
I thought it was gonna be the-
Furlong.
I thought it was going to be the brother from Dinosaurs.
I have a bit of a theme going. But no, I would say that Greg and I, as the T800 and Sarah Connor of this podcast, are always walking around with Mike jumping behind us going like, I can help. Look at my backpack.
With his weirdly dubbed high voice.
trying to teach you new lingo.
Yeah.
Kids say on fleek now, guys.
If some guy's in your face, say hasta la pasta, hombre. All right, that's pretty good, Eddie Furlong. Mike, who do you see when you think of your replacement on the podcast?
Look, I think I'm very smart. I think I deserve a lot of things. I know my hair is very dumb.
Uh-huh.
And I'm more pretentious than I want to be. I'm Barton Fink.
I'm fat, so I burp and fart.
I'm fat, so I Barton Fink.
So specifically, you want to replace yourself with the character Barton Fink.
Yes.
Well, you always are writing those wrestling pictures.
How do people wrestle? I'll just make it up.
All right. Let's move on to a little touch of vitamin G. Greg. We're going to swap out Greg. Who are we going to swap in his place? Who's bringing that big Greg energy? Ryan, let's start with you again.
Oh, wait, who decides the points on the show?
I believe it's
Greg.
yeah.
I thought he was going to say
that's
Barton
right.
Fink.
Skadoosh.
That's a skadoosh. First one of the night, if you're paying attention.
I think about Greg. I think about his just amazing wokeness,
Mm-hmm.
his need to make the change in the world that we all want to be.
Mm-hmm. Making a difference by thinking the right things, right, Ryan?
His amazing. Just if I said them out loud, it would be too powerful.
Purity of opinion.
Keep
The
them to
black
myself.
Blackagar Boltigan.
I'm basically like if that black square from Instagram were a person.
I think about Greg's ability to write poetry
Oh, yeah.
and send it to Nancy Pelosi. I think about his wraparound glasses. He is the lead singer of the band who gave us Achtung Baby. He is Bono.
The Fly himself.
Bono changing the world with his poems. Basically, Bono does with his poems what I do with just my perfect opinions. All right, well, Bono. Okay, I guess. I feel like, Mike, you could probably do better than that.
When I think of Greg and the energy he brings to this show, it's sure maybe he's intimidating at first, but then you get to know him and he's warm and cuddly. He's often corralling all Ryan and I. He's the strong and silent type, only if compared to me and Ryan. And he also doesn't really know how to use the lingo the kids use. It is T800.
That's so clever. Yeah, definitely. I'm like the old model, but like maybe
But
the
better
best they've ever
still.
been. Yeah,
Yes.
somehow the best ever. I've paired myself up with a really dynamic woman, but I still
Huh?
get the credit for just showing up at the end and just
Even
like,
though she does most of the
yeah,
work.
even though she basically does everything. I think that's pretty good. And if we make Ryan Eddie Furlong, he's like my little dude, you know.
I think I was supposed to be Eddie Furlong. I'm fine with Ryan being Eddie Furlong, but
Oh, no, yeah, you're supposed to be Eddie Furlong. Okay, well, then let's do that. Mike, you will be Eddie Furlong. Unfortunately, that's a Ryan point.
shit.
Ryan.
I will be the T800, which, Mike, that's a Mike point.
Yes.
Mike.
And then Ryan, I think the baby dinosaur from Dinosaurs. Also, perhaps maybe one-time Attorney General who has both said since Trump left office that he does not think Trump is fit for office and that he will vote for Trump the next chance he gets. So
I like that kind of self-reflection.
I guess he looks at Biden and he's just like, not the mama. When we come back, we are going to get to our third and final question.
Hola, Filterinos. I just wanted to interrupt real briefly and say thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. If you want to support us a little more directly, you can go to patreon.com/yourpopfilter. There, depending on what tier you pick, $1 a month, $5 a month. If you're crazy, anything more than $5 a month, don't do that. You can get extra content. There's extra shows, extra series, behind-the-scenes stuff. You could pay for Ryan to draw you a picture. I can write you a poem. You can get the shirts off our very own backs. All of that and so much more over at patreon.com/yourpopfilter. While you're on the internet, you should check out Shady Monk. He does all the tunes you've been listening to. He's on Bandcamp, he's on Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever kids get their music these days that I'm too old to know. Shady Monk lives there. You can probably follow him on Twitter and Instagram as well. That's Shady Monk. Wherever you get music, check him out.
All right. You were good little boys and kept it in your pants the whole show. It's time to do the Western question. The term Western is thrown around a lot over a wide variety of movies, in its pure form, whatever that means, and in all of its subgenres. 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 So what is Thelma and Louise? Western? Revisionist Western? Anti-Western Western? Feminist Western? Not
Best
a
Western?
Best Western?
It's a courtyard, at least.
I mean, like,
It's so hardcore a Western. Let me just
Yes.
jump in with the answer to this question. Is that, like, right? Big-ass Western?
I think that the term is thrown around a lot, and I think it's anytime that there's characters in a movie, people be like, "Oh, that's a Western." The Batman,
especially
that's
if
a Western.
it's dusty around them.
If
Schindler's
you hear, like,
List,
a
that's a
little
Western.
banjo, like a bow,
that's a
bow,
fucking
bow,
Western.
bow, like, doesn't that
Well, they
feel
do
like,
line
bow,
dance.
bow, bow, bow? No, okay. The opening credits are like, by the way, this movie's a Western.
I know this is Arkansas now, but just wait. It's
In
going to
a
become a
world.
Western. But yeah, I mean, the outlawedness of it all, so much to the
Yes.
fact that we literally define the term outlaw, and we define to audiences, this is what makes a criminal good, and this is what makes a criminal bad. Like, there you go. And then it's not shot in Monument Valley. It's supposed to, I think, look like it, but
Arkansas.
we're around the
Moab
Grand
or
Canyon
whatever.
and
So
Los
for
Angeles.
I know, but for those audiences, why is Monument Valley such a big deal?
Monument Valley is, I believe, in Utah, and that was like where all of John Ford's
Rio Grande,
best
Rio
Westerns-
Bravo,
Rio Bravo. Yeah.
Johnny Bravo.
The Searchers,
Johnny Drama.
Searching
Rio
for
Bravo.
Bobby Fischer.
Turtle.
Rio Bravo was Howard Hawks. You guys make this so easy to talk about movies. But yes, The Searchers was a John Ford Western
We
shot
got one.
partly in Monument Valley, along with Stagecoach and all of his famous ones. But you guys know the look. It's like
I've seen
red
Stagecoach.
rocks,
The
know,
red
and
rocks.
like in a
Great
certain
venue.
way. It's like a certain way where it sort of looks built, where like
Yes.
these rocks are just stacked on top of each
I
other
know
in
there's
such a
a
weird
God.
way. And if this wasn't Ridley Scott trying to make a Western, then I will fucking eat my own shit.
The music is 100% Western. Like, it's all twangy guitars and all like the beginning of Roseanne harmonicas.
The most Western of sitcoms.
Yeah, the most Western, mid-Western, but still Western.
So you want to do music for Thelma and Louise? That's cool. It's just your resume. This is just a piece of paper that says I did the beginning of Roseanne.
What?
Do you think you're qualified?
This
I
is
do
so
now.
musically Western that when JD shows up, I was convinced that Brad Pitt was playing the harmonica. He keeps touching his mouth. Like we would learn later that's what he does throughout his career. But I thought part of I thought the guitar was non-diegetic, and I thought the harmonica was him. And I was like, that's interesting.
Or at the very least, playing one of those. What do they call it? Where like
A
you put it in your
mouth harp.
mouth. A mouth
Mouth
harp.
harp,
Thank
yeah.
you. It's just like dong 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 dong
The
dong.
worst sound of all time. One of the few instruments available to the Wild West, and probably one of the worst sounds.
That's why there was so much murder back in the day. I'm a big fan. If thinking about Westerns, I'm a huge fan of the modern Western, Hell or High Water. And having not seen Thelma and Louise, and now I have, I can be like, oh, you just went, what if we made Thelma and Louise with dudes? I still love that movie, but fuck you, that movie.
And think about how much reliance we have on that term. Again, I think it's super misused. I think that a lot of times, like, there will be a good guy versus a bad guy at the end of the movie, and they'll be like, "Oh, this is a Western. I saw this is a Western." That's actually literally every movie ever made. But like, saying, like, rooting for the bad guy
Yes.
is, I think, such a integral part to this movie.
Well,
and like
it's-
specifically, it seems like it's very much in conversation with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Mhm.
Like those movies end in exactly the same way, and this is not how Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid ends, but their plunge is like one of the big moments of that movie when they jump into the river. Like it is so.
I mean, is Catherine Ross in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and Brad Pitt in Thelma and Louise, are they in it for the exact same amount of screen time at the exact same moments? Like,
yeah, they like fall in the same range in the movie, and then just the last shot is like, being surrounded by the federales, like being surrounded by, and then having no choice but to either go out hard or get arrested. And one of them saying to the other one, like, I can't do that.
Right.
And so in those ways, it seems like the term does get thrown around a lot, but it seems like Ridley Scott almost had a paranoia that you would not get what he was doing.
is it too Western?
I think this movie is for everybody, right? It's for the folks. So this
Yeah.
is not just an art house movie. And I think that there are times where either he or the scriptwriter were just a little afraid that folks maybe wouldn't get what was going on.
Well, I mean, just the fact that there's girls, like,
Right.
that might be enough to ruin it for
That's
you.
an art
And
house
yeah.
movie then, right?
5 years later, we had the movie Bad Girls with Drew Barrymore and Madeline Stowe, the female Young Guns. But
Regulators.
this one, I can see that they were, a little nervous, Greg.
But this one seems like the female Young Guns in a way. I mean, it seems like this is like the quintessential cowboy story. So much so that the fact that like I think reality breaks down in this movie because they're entering into the sort of Western.
They become Pecos Bill. Like it's
yeah.
too mythos.
The whole idea that they're even in Monument Valley seems like they're way off track where they're trying to go.
Yeah.
It seems like they only go there so that they can be in that particular space. And then they like fly off into the Grand Canyon. It feels like they're kind of in a different space when they go there. But all those things come together to give us that, that outlaw spirit. What if it was alive in a 90s housewife?
And I'm looking right now. I do think that this is the only thing that approaches Western if we're going to be more literal and less like it can mean anything. But think of this is the guy who made Alien, Blade Runner, 1492. Do you guys remember when 2 Christopher Columbus movies
Yes.
came out within a month?
And I didn't see either one because I was like, you know what? I can't pick one.
Well, that's because you hate Italian people.
I hate one Italian. I straight up hate Christopher Columbus.
I thought you meant me. Just like, oh no.
I love you. You must be baby boy. No, but Christopher Columbus is a monster.
Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, Kingdom of Heaven, Robin Hood. Like, these are wildly different genres. Like, going back to Barton Fink, like, you would say this is a wrestling picture. These are all different blank pictures, you know? And so this is how he would, like, it almost feels like he has a checklist, and this is his Western.
And that's
part
awesome.
of it is awesome.
There's like student film. You're in film school and you're like, I want to try to make this, and you watch them learn. He's learning and playing with the genres, but not in a Deadpoolian way. He's never winking, and not in a way like, I don't know what I'm doing. He is obsessed with these genres and goes like, I'll crush it.
But
I'll
no,
crush that one.
It's not let's make a Western and then make it wacky. It's let's take the story and make it a Western.
Yes.
Those are two very different things, you know? And I'm not saying that Callie Corey didn't have a ton to do with it. I'm sure she wrote a Western too, but he is playing with the tropes of the Western in the background, on the back burner instead of the foreground, for sure.
Speed round.
Speed round. You know what that means. The questions come quick and often. Why all men suck so bad?
Well, that's just the way that we were raised, and
Probably
it's our
'cause-
right to do it.
Something women did.
Ryan.
This movie very much, I feel like, makes the case that because they're just we permit
Ladies.
it. We just permit it, and because men constantly cover for each other in every little way. The best man in this movie covers for all the worst men all the time, and the best man in this movie brings in all the awful forces that ultimately kill this woman.
There's no
These
way
women.
Harvey Keitel couldn't step to Stephen Tobolowsky in any world, and I'm a Tobolowsky stan, but
Yeah.
Tobolowsky is like, this is the way
We're
it's got to
total
be.
LeBrons.
And Keitel's like, okay, I guess it has to be. Fuck you. You punch that guy, and you take over.
And this is not a classic Tobolowsky performance. I think we all think that he's just doing renditions on Ned
Ned Riley?
Riedermeyer or whatever
Yeah.
from Groundhog Day. But he's kind of like a boss in this movie, and
Yeah.
it's strange to see.
He's got an energy in
This
this
Tobolowsky
movie.
folks.
He's very masculinist in this movie, and that's obviously very bad. But also, you just never see him like that, and so it's weirdly interesting. Let's say I don't want to say it's nice.
Let's just say
I would say the only best men that should be in this movie is you two at my wedding when I marry Thelma.
I always thought you were more of a Louise guy.
Did you?
I always thought you were more of a Louise bro. How does this rate against buddy road trip movies? Where does this stand in the pantheon of buddy road trip movies?
the best. I think this is so good it makes me even madder at bad ones. Like I remember being angry watching Due Date, and now I'm even angrier. How do you fuck that up? Like it's you get two charming people and you let them play off each other for a movie, and how do you fuck it up at all?
I really thought this was going to be the first show that we did in so long where Mike didn't bring up Due Date, but nope, here we are again. I think it's an important thing to note that I think the appeal for road movies for writers and directors is that like you have an Act 1 and Act 3 whatever, and then Act 2 is just like crazy fun, just like, yeah, we just get to have little skits. And this movie doesn't do that because they are arcing and getting better and worse the entire time. Like, when you think about the fact that this was probably a fun road movie to shoot, and then you think they shot it out of order, and Susan Sarandon had to remember that, like, yesterday I did this, but tomorrow I'm doing this, but, like, this is, you know, at the end of the movie.
Which version of Louise should I be today?
Yeah, what a crazy job.
Ryan.
They filmed the whole thing out of order. How confusing.
The first movie to do that, and only.
Why is it so easy to fall in love with Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis?
Oh, man.
They're ne'er-do-wells.
Okay.
They're devil may cares. They're incredibly beautiful. And I would be dressed down by either of them. Like, it would be amazing.
They are very beautiful, but isn't there a beauty to watching how effectively they act?
Yes.
In particularly this movie. Like,
oh, you're not even asking Thelma and Louise. You're talking about Geena and Susan.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. That like the way they move their faces, the movie is like serves on so many different levels, but there's like about halfway through it, the acting of both the women kicks up like a couple notches because the characters become the very realist versions of themselves, and the acting is like transcendent in those parts, among the best we've ever done for like any of these movies.
They were both nominated for an Oscar. Do you know who won?
Who?
Was it Jodie Foster?
It was Jodie Foster, yeah.
Yeah.
We also have to give out awards in a couple weeks, and this is going to be a fucking rough one because I think such a big part of it is, especially if you juxtapose the boy scenes and the girl scenes, they listen.
Yes.
Like somebody will say a line, and then they'll think about it and internalize it and think about what their reaction is, and then they will think about what the reaction is that like the person that they're talking to needs. And then when it's the boy scenes, it's like, what? Shut up! What? Fuck you! Here's my penis.
I was just giving an example of that by not letting Ryan finish the sentence without me also talking.
Mike, shut the fuck up right now.
I'm just showing what the boys do.
This is a podcast by and for the boys, so nobody ever finishes a sentence on this show. That kiss at the end between Thelma and Louise, is that queer coded at all? Is there any queer dynamic to what's going on with them?
I think, again, I feel like more and more on the show, maybe it's the older I do get, the more old man I am becoming. It's like, I think a lot of stuff in the world and in Hollywood is queer coded, but I think there's also just
for instance,
deep, intimate friendships, and not every bit of intimacy means queer coded and they were gay the whole time just because they love each other. And I think that they are going to die, and they both know that at that point. And I think you can show love without being like, that means they're gay.
Yeah, I mean, I think this happens to male-male relationships in movies way more than female-female relationships about like, oh, they're gay. They're gay. I called it first. I have dibs. I'm going to start a Reddit thread.
I want to sound smart, so I'm going to say they're gay. I did it when I read Hamlet in high school. It is high school level analysis.
I'll say this. I think I kind of agree with you, but I think it's the opposite of what you're saying. I don't think there is as much of a distinction between the love we have for our friends and like homosexual love. Like we draw these divisions in our love, and we draw these divisions in our intimacy, and it's not necessarily how it lines up with how we really feel. So I think that there is a queer component to their love, but I don't think that is like an admission of love for each other.
Right. I think that
because the whole world's queer.
Yeah, exactly. But these two ladies specifically like getting railed by dick.
They both want dick so bad.
I thought all of that until I thought about the fact they say their full names like towards the end, and Louise's name is Louise Elizabeth Sawyer. And what are those initials?
Les.
So it's a gay movie.
All right. When we come back, this movie won some awards, but right now it's going to win all the awards. And one recommendation that I won't forget.
I recommend you shut the fuck up.
All right. Time for awards. Little thing we like to do where we give the movie all the awards it deserves. Let's start off. I'm going to go right for the jugular here. Pound for pound
What
performance.
the fuck, Greg?
No, Greg. No.
You're like Vince McMahon coming into the ring and saying, "I don't know how wrestling works."
I guess coming in and being like, we're going to start the card tonight with
The Rock versus
Goldberg.
Triple H?
There you go. That's one. Very good.
Mike.
Those are wrestlers.
Those are wrestlers, and I could see them wrestling.
Triple H is so weird to say. Why not just be HHH? Wouldn't that be better? The orgasm.
Ryan, who do you think delivers the best pound-for-pound performance in Thelma and Louise?
Geena Davis is a 35-year-old serious woman. She's tall, like she's stoic, and she becomes a child, and that sounds like a knock, and it's not. I cannot believe what she does in this movie. There is one false moment that I want to point out before I keep blabbering about her. One false moment in this entire movie where she starts laughing about how Harlan is dead, and it kind of seemed like maybe not enough time spent in the movie on it, or that it felt forced. But other than that, I cannot stop watching her. When this is not to say anything against Susan Sarandon, Mike. I hope that you pick Susan Sarandon and Greg has to choose. But she asks Louise about, like, she's finally put it together why Louise doesn't want to go to Texas, and Louise is like, you shut up, you don't talk about that, and she's just like, okay, I'm sorry, okay, and that's the back part of that scene, that FYC scene. You know, Susan Sarandon should be, and her like backpedaling and her friendshipness, and I was just trying to be there. Like, Geena Davis, how was she not a star for like fucking Cutthroat Island? Really? That's all we need to take an actress from her prime?
It was over after Cutthroat Island.
Wait, I mean, Streep did fucking Into the Woods. I've been wondering why neither of them are at that level, and I think it's like Ridley Scott likes to do big Hollywood but do it well. I think both of them do the same as actors, and I don't know, maybe because they're women.
Trivia real quick, by the way. This movie was supposed to star Meryl Streep and what's her name? Goldie Hawn.
Really?
Wow.
They turned it down and went on to make what other 1991 movie?
Right.
Fried green tomatoes.
Incorrect.
I don't
Steel
know.
Man.
I think
Magnolia.
it probably got closer than it should to the Elite Eight. It was Death Becomes Her. You guys remember that movie?
I
Oh, Death
fucking
Becomes Her.
love Death Becomes Her.
Right.
We would have had fun talking about Death Becomes Her. That's a movie
Bruce
that never got a
Willis?
fair
Yeah.
shake.
It's so good.
That movie never got a fair shake. All right, Ryan. So who was it? Who was your person? Geena Davis?
Geena Davis.
GD, Geena Davis. Mike, do you agree, disagree, or pass?
We can abstain. I think Susan Sarandon is so good in this. She so much internalized acting, so much simmering rage at the world around her in different ways. It's Geena Davis. She is undeniable. She's hard to take your eyes off of, and all the things she has to do. It's not that it's a bigger performance. It's her arc. Maybe it's just more evident. Louise starts this movie kind of hating everything, and you have to watch Thelma learn that.
You watch Thelma become Billy the Kid. I mean, she becomes just like
Maybe
a
I'm just
wild
good at this shit.
outlaw.
Yeah, dude.
And it's so exciting, and you watch Geena Davis go through so many phases. She just does such an amazing job that I was so blown away by her performance. Director moment, Mike. When did Ridley make you cry out, "Great Scott"?
We had a whole fucking segment about this,
Yeah.
and this is still hard.
Yeah.
There's so many like smaller things, but like watching that, I think it has to be the helicopter flying out of the canyon over the car, because he's somebody who's like, I can make nuanced movies, I can make you care about these characters, and then he can still pull out the holy fuck, how did he do that?
That is such a good shot.
Yes.
And it sets you up perfectly. Like, your eye he knows exactly what your eye is going to do. You look at like the big cliff, you look at the car, you look at the dust, and while you were thinking, like, they're just driving along the side of the cliff. That's kind of cool. The helicopter suddenly pops out at like the exact perfect moment.
Did we even talk about tonight that Ridley Scott rhymes with diddly squat?
We didn't.
No, not nearly
We didn't
enough.
even one
That
time
should have been
talk
its own
about that.
15-minute
Ryan,
segment.
sound off. Here's your first point.
Right.
And then just sort of sound off on that.
I want a director who gives me Ridley Scott. I don't want a director that gives me diddly squat.
Very good.
Do you want me to talk about the award that I want to give?
Nope. That's you.
Let's skadoosh that one right off the show. But what do you think the best director moment is?
I think that this guy has a lot of interest in a lot of things, and that sort of comes with all the movies. We talked about all the genres, but for tonight, I don't think he's a car guy, but I'm going to pick cars. There's some camera swings around this T-Bird
Thunderbird, yeah.
that are really impressive, as, like we said, not in the age of CGI. And I also want to point out, when they see Brad Pitt for the second time, the camera is in love with this car more than Brad Pitt for the only time in the movie, where in one shot it swings around, picks him up, barely stops, he jumps in, and then the car just goes again.
Yeah.
Like, this car looks great in this movie. And just like Thelma and Louise, I'm not saying that it's a character. New York is a character in this movie. The car is not. It gets dirtier and more of a veteran as the movie goes on.
I think someone playeth to the host.
In that car, so you talked about where they pull over to pick up Brad Pitt. Thelma's like, "Can we pick him up?" And then she starts whining like a dog.
Yeah, she just and then she's like, "What a
I'm
horn
sure
dog."
that was very formative for a lot of people. I'm gonna go with the car. I love the role of the car in this. The Thunderbird, the bird that flies at the end that gets free. Very big in the Southwest. We never like to do it, but we have to do it. Oh, I think I didn't get.
Ryan.
What's the cringe moment, Ryan? What moment made you cringe?
I think this one is very obvious. When you have one black character in the movie, you must give them every trait that you believe a black character to have, which you listening to music, listening to Jimmy Cliff, loud, too loud, smoking a fucking doobie,
Fat blunt.
and the ultimate black stereotype, bicycler in full-on bicycle gear.
Full
The blacks
on
love
middle-aged
cycling.
White guy, like you see on the side of PCH, biking up and down.
If what it felt like was like the movie was like somebody came up to Ridley Scott and they were like, "We don't have enough money for 4 black people. We only have enough money for 1." And he was like, "Tie them all in together. Let's do this."
And his part of the movie, like, it's not clear what they're doing with that part of the movie, why it's happening. It's like they almost
weird.
got to the end and they're like, "No, literally, there is not a black person even in the background of one of these shots."
Oh
And
wait, there's somebody riding their bike down the street. Should we grab him?
We're putting him in. It's kind of funny when he blows the pot into
Yeah.
but like
Plus
that,
ACAB.
yeah, that scene is not doing anything in the movie.
No.
Mike,
it is. This is mine as well because any other time the movie made me cringe and it did. It's like the movie wants you to cringe. When Thelma and Louise blame each other for the rape that just happened, the movie wants you to cringe.
Yeah.
It wants you to be uncomfortable. But this is the one moment where I'm like, you guys just. I guess it was the '90s. Like you just did not have control of your tone right here. And this is also post
It's
truck
absolutely
explosion. Post Louise's revelation, and it really is like the studio's like, we haven't laughed in a while.
We're
like,
just in a John Landis movie for 10 minutes of this movie, and it's crazy.
the scene is long too. The scene is really long. Like, I commend this movie for being just a scotch over 2 hours. You could have gotten to 2, everybody.
Oh,
you
yes.
could have gotten to
And
2.
I
it's
think
such-
if
it's such a
the
punchy
three of us
script.
wrote down the minutes that should be cut, all 3 of us would
Yes.
have the exact same minutes.
Yes. Or Ryan.
I do want to point out, though, like, not to take this a step farther, but that was the most dangerous. Like, Harlan probably deserved to die, and there's really no other like violent crimes committed. That cop in that trunk for that long, like that cop could have died.
Yeah, that guy's gonna
because
be
the
dead.
desert.
Did
Yeah.
you see how much the biker was sweating? Like, clearly.
They took his 6-pack of beer. Do we also talk about the fact that like between this and Terminator 2, action movies with no deaths, Harlan is like the only on-screen death that we see in 2 of the biggest action movies of 1991.
Wow,
Is
yeah,
that a weird
great
thing that's
point.
going on?
Same
Ryan.
actor?
Do you think
What?
audiences are like done with murderous violence?
Yeah, I just think that we wanted cartoonish violence, but we didn't have to think about what was going on. I mean, this is right around the Iraq War, so maybe like people wanted to feel like not connected to actual violence. Mike, what is the Thelma-iest moment of the movie?
There's so many, right? I mean, her name is one of the halves of the title. And I, for a while, wanted to be cute and say it was a moment Louise at the end.
Oh,
but
I would have loved that.
I refuse.
Okay.
I refuse to be cute. I really do think it's that Thelma lets them get robbed by Brad Pitt because she just is too trusting. And then also instantly, because she is always going to see a silver lining, steals his script word for word and then robs a bank with it.
Yes. All right. So the whole like bank rob or the whole store robbing scene.
The 1-2 punch of like, well, we need money because I did fuck up and trust somebody too much, but I will fix it.
Yeah.
With
okay.
this.
What do you say, Ryan?
I have to go back to the first 10 minutes of the script because again, this script you could take a class on screenwriting and spend the entire semester on this script. And so in the first 10 minutes we see her pack everything, and that's because of what a child she is, and also what of like how much knowledge of the future she has at the same time. And then to put the cherry on top of that pie, I don't know, the way that she runs while she's packing, like
Yeah.
she's just like, you know, she just has this Thelma
Dropping
run
things
that
everywhere.
only Thelma could have.
And we get to see the T-Bird's iconic trunk there, which like opens in a
How
weird
does it work?
way.
Which I did not understand at any point how
No,
the
it
car
was
works.
bananas. That's a DeLorean style.
At one point, they opened a trunk on the bottom and asked Brad Pitt to get in it. I don't know how it works.
I'm going to give that one to Ryan. I think that that packing scene, you see all of Thelma. You see like the outlaw Thelma getting ready to present herself. Like the way she just, without any real thought, goes into the room, sits down, looks at the gun for 1/2 of 1 second, is like, "Yep, taking this too."
Picks
With
it up
two
like it was
fingies.
just fired. Like
Yeah.
it's still hot. Yeah, 2 fingies.
Ryan, what do you think is the Louisiest moment?
Again, first 10 minutes, first line. You girls shouldn't smoke. It makes you bad at sex. And like, I'm the mom and I'm the teacher, but I'm cool. Because
And
the
also
thing that I'm concerned about is your sex lives, but you shouldn't smoke. And then the hypocrisy, I'm
smash cut.
smash cut to smoking.
Yeah,
Come on, explain Louise to me better than that.
excellent. Mike, can
I think
you?
I can. It is Louise. She's a caring friend. You know, she's like, Thelma, you know what? You should just go swim. You need to stop thinking about what just happened. I'm going to figure this out. I will take care of you. Go relax and swim. And then without making a plan is instantly like, move your ass. What are you doing? We got to go.
And in classic Thelma and Louise moment, rips off her headphones, screams at her. Geena Davis screams, then Susan Sarandon screams. And now we're all just screaming at each other.
Just a jump in her bathing suit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give that one to Mark. Last and certainly not least, and something we would never forget, any of us, recommendations. Ryan, what do you recommendation?
There's good question, Greg. There's a ton of movies like this in that two people that are not from the coast, let's say, jump in a car and commit
Ew.
crimes. But the one I'm going to pick is called They Live by Night, which is directed by Nicholas Ray, the guy who directed Rebel Without a Cause. And this is about a couple, a boy and a girl instead of two girls, but their names are Bowie and Kichi. So if you're not in love already, I don't know what to tell you. And they do this thing where, like, they are criminals, right? Like, they are outlaws.
Mm-hmm.
But it's impossible to watch this movie, and this is from, like, 1954, without seeing, yeah, but it's society, though, right? Like, it's the world around them that keep pushing them into corners and never giving them outs, you know, no matter what situation they're in. And it's not that they're, like, so dumb and in love that they have no choice but to think guns are cool. It's that we don't have other options, and I bet there are other people like us. And that's the same feeling that Thelma and Louise gave me.
And
Yes.
guns are cool.
And let's not forget, if you pick them up with two fingies, guns are cool.
Because, like, do you remember the part of Terminator 2 at the end where she's, like, doing the pump in the shotgun and
That's a
shooting
good part,
the music?
yeah.
Yeah, that part's pretty cool.
Do you think Thelma and Louise should have been Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
dude,
Oh, shit.
every once in a while you pitch like a mashup of movies, and I'm never against it. Like, nothing is sacred. Just put these properties together. It doesn't matter. Like, that would be such a good, fun movie. Mike,
Yes.
what do you recommendation?
Can I have two?
Mike, it's like you make one recommendation. That's the whole thing. Okay, fine.
Okay. I blew my load on both of these, which is why I feel like I'm allowed to say both of them.
All right.
I mentioned Hell or High Water, and it really is just the boys' version of Thelma and Louise, but it very similar to They Came by Night. Is that what you?
Yes.
They Came by Night. Is they do some fucked up shit, these two wacky brothers. But the whole time you're like, I'm on their side though. Like, and it is, they are crushed under the thumb of big oil. Like, how could they have done anything else but rob all these banks?
And it really is that, like, giving Harvey Keitel's role more screen time with Jeff Bridges.
Yes.
You know, and that does make the movie much
He
more
gets a
interesting.
sidekick.
Yeah.
And the other one, if you're a patron, you've heard this, is The Handmaiden, for a movie to tackle also criminality, also female sexuality and wanting it, and also fully on the side of the criminals and saying, again, how could she have done anything else but what she did? Because the way society is, she's going to have to cut these rules in half.
Do you think parts of that were queer-coded?
Maybe.
My recommendation is going to be The Last Duel. Very interesting companion piece to this. Set in a completely different time. You know, made 30 years later. Set 500 years earlier or whatever, and yet still the same basic story of men just absolutely creating another version of women out of their imaginations and then writing that onto the real women in their lives and then destroying the real people behind the imaginary creations that they made. And, like, that has not changed in any way either since Thelma and Louise was made or
500 years we've been doing this.
I mean, it fundamentally
4 more years. 4 more years.
That's what it's about.
You know how I fucked up? I chose one Ridley Scott movie from 2021 to watch, and I picked House of Gucci. And it's not a good movie.
I'm enjoying. You know what? Kelly and I, my lovely wife and I are watching House of Gucci, and I think because I've exclusively heard bad things about it, and because I am apparently deeply in love with Lady Gaga. I'm actually enjoying it. And I like Adam Driver too. Why not? That's already John Oliver's thing, so I can't do anything with that. But when we come back, what I can do is I can tell you who won this here little contest, and I can tell you whether or not we think Thelma and Louise might have what it takes to become our 1991 Movie of the Year.
That's a classic right there.
That's a classic right there. A classic movie, but also, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I think a classic episode of Movie of the Year. And
Allow it.
Ryan, during this classic episode, you scored 35 points.
Okay.
Very good score. Mike scored 33 points.
The
mantle of best friend passed from Mike to Ryan, and this is the game to get it. Because Ryan now sort of sits on it for weeks at a time.
It's mine for months.
Yeah, just being best buddy.
Yeah. Have fun changing out that bedpan, best friend.
I will. It's just one of my little perks.
It's a weird thing Greg makes you do. He makes you poop in a bedpan and makes you let him clean
That's
it.
so much worse. You would clean out my bedpan before you would allow me to be like,
So
hey,
much
if you
easier.
don't mind.
Only
Okay.
poop in this now. What the fuck?
This is awful. Thelma and Louise. I have to say, when I first watched this movie, when I gave it watch number 1, I said this movie is of a different caliber than the films we've seen recently and is not good enough to be 91's Movie of the Year. After my second viewing, and especially after that hot episode, I don't know. Now I'm starting to think it definitely is 91's Movie of the Year. What do you gentlemen think?
I mean, there's something that, Greg, you talk about a lot about how the votes come down. You're like the math guy, the analysis guy.
That's me.
And, like, if, you know, I'm Barton Fink and Mike is Better or Brighter Summer Day. And
I'm fat, so I burp and fart.
And Greg is Terminator 2. What if number 2 for all of us is Thelma and Louise, and it just fucking rocks ass?
This is a little bit of a logic stretch, let's face it.
Okay, I understand that like this is crazy, but I could definitely see it going places.
It's so 91, and it's so good. Like,
Yeah.
it might hit all those things.
Which
the
those
other
things
movies
should be
don't.
like polar opposites,
It's
right?
91. It's timeless.
It's up our woke butts.
Yeah. It's all about like how we should probably feel bad for being men. And you know what? Let me tell you, honey, we do.
bringing
that's
girls
my kink. I pay for that.
bringing girls over to the Pop Culture Hall of Fame and like showing them the 1991 plaque and it's saying Thelma and Louise, like, whew.
And just gesturing to it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, no. For the record, we see the plaque. You could stop pointing at it. And like,
Just keep trying to take off their wedding rings. I learned this from that movie.
But we'll have to see, because the final episodes of this season are coming up. They're right around the corner where we pick 91's movie of the year. But until then, do me a favor, won't you? Keep watching them movies.